Real estate agents and loan officers, listen up. This video could be the way that you change the way you do business. Hit save and subscribe. Today, we're diving into Title Toolbox. It's a powerful resource powered by Benutech that's perfect for real estate agents and loan officers. It's a game changer for lead generation with tools like life event tracking, farming, statistics turnover, property profiles, and recorded documents. This training was originally recorded for our client base already a bit familiar with the platform, but it's packed with insights that anyone can benefit from. If you're interested in accessing Title Toolbox, reach out to me and I'd love to help get you started. Now let's jump into the training.
Of value, and that's where the state really goes down on that point. So all right, let's kind of jump into it. So what I'm going to do is, obviously, all I did was log in.
So give us the website.
You guys can see it. Do you need me to? Well, what I'll do is, so here's the big thing. So if you want access to this, Megan or Lisa Wilkinson, they have to manually give you access to it. So there's not a direct link you can go to register for it. So definitely get with Megan or Lisa. And then that way they can just make sure to sign you up very, very quick in a matter of seconds. And then you will get the link directly to the site to then utilize it on that back end. So,
now, is this
but great point on that. It is for the best portion of it, because of the amount of data that's going to be pulling through. Desktop is your best option. They don't have, it is mobile friendly, but there isn't an app. So I think Remind had an app. Correct me if I'm wrong, Craig, on that. Maybe they didn't. But yeah, this is definitely something you want to use on your desktop, especially if you're going to be farming 300 properties at a time, because of all the data that's coming in from the county offices. It's just going to spin on your phone. So definitely desktop. But again, Megan, Lisa will be the key on making sure you have access to it. And if you feel that you already had access to it, maybe they gave it to you a year ago, just send them a quick reminder, or you could throw something in the chat and we can look it up to verify that, and then resend you the login information. So you'll see, again, what I'm going to hit on at first, because Craig kind of mentioned it, is the farming piece of this. Okay, you can go into depth on one individual property. You can kind of find the owner pieces of that, but also with the farming feature I'm going to show you, it will also show you that as well. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, again, when I open it up, it literally put it to the map. I'm going to zoom out a little bit just so you can see. This data is available to you all over the country. Okay. So just keep that in mind. It's not restricted to a specific county. So you do have access to
Tallahassee, all of our BE3 groups outside of Tampa Bay, all have access to this too.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now, keep in mind too, it's definitely heavy more on the residential side. You can pull some commercial, but just keep that in the back of your mind. I mean, this is definitely more of a residential tool. If you ever need help on a commercial piece or something, get with Megan, because we do have other kind of vendors that can help us pull that data at times. So, so just keep that in mind. So, but again, all I'm doing with my mouse is I'm just zooming in and out on it. That's all I'm doing. Okay. So then from here, if I'm like, okay, I want to start to zoom in on a specific area. And this is where then, depending on a farm-in location, I can start to do that. Now, all I'm doing, I'm not familiar with this specific area. I'm sure you guys are. But so I'm kind of zooming in on this area. It looks like a residential area. It looks like a community right here. Okay. So from here, now what I want to also kind of throw out here is, don't do this massive area right here to where you see this big area, which is probably well over 1,000 properties. Try to limit it under try to be in that 500 range. Always try to be under 1,000. It doesn't mean you can't do multiple farms and just 500, 500, 500. The reason why I say that is just with the data, it might, again, time you out. So that's why I always just like to recommend that too. Okay. So right here, as you can see, I zoomed in. Let's say I know this. Let's say this is my neighborhood. Okay. And I want to farm my neighborhood.
That's a 55 and older community in Sun City Center and a condo community called Kings Point.
Okay, is this are they all condos or are they homes that you know of?
For the most
Condos
part,
might
in Kings
throw
Point,
away.
they're all condos. Some look like
Okay.
homes. If you go on the other side,
I may.
go on the other side
So
of
if I
Sun,
jump over here, that should be residential.
no, up north of Sun, there, that side, where the
Okay, perfect. All right,
that
perfect.
little
I
island
appreciate that,
in the
Greg.
center. I can't read the streets, but Fox Hills, Oakmont, Sahara Drive, La Jolla Avenue. That's a nice little farm right there.
Okay, perfect. And keep in mind too, what Craig just said too, you can farm a condo building. And if somebody has an example, by all means, we can look for that after this example. But you can, so even if it's a building and you want to know every unit is individually owned, I could circle around the exact same process I'm going to do here in just a second. I could circle the building. It's going to give me every unit in that building as long as it's independently owned. Okay, so keep that in mind too. So, all right, what I'm going to do is up here at the top, you'll see a couple of little options. Okay. Craig, you can see that okay, right? Or do I need to zoom in a little bit?
I can see
Okay.
farming, statistics, property search.
Perfect. Perfect. So what the main thing I want to hit on right now is I want to hit on the farming tool. So literally if I hover over its farming tool and I just click on it, it's going to give me a couple of options to farm. So there's two options that I usually like to really highlight. They're the easiest ones. They're definitely ones I utilize when I do my own searches and stuff. The first one is radius. Okay, if I just click on radius, you'll see on my mouse, there is now a little pin drop. So you can see that little green pin drop. If I click it, you'll see now here's my radius. Now, I could modify this radius. I could either shrink it in, I could grab the pin on the outside and I could pull it in. Maybe I just want to farm this little area. Or I could grab the middle, hold down the mouse, and I could just slide it. Okay, so that's one way you could do a quick farm. And then up here, you can see where I could then get count or add filters. Now, I'm not a huge one, you know, I like the boundary one better. So I'm going to clear this. I'm going to go back to farming. And I'm going to go to boundary search. Now, once I hit boundary search, you're going to see I'm going to have the little green pin again on my mouse. So what I want to do, zoom out a little bit, I'm going to just hit right click, or I'm sorry, left click on one side. And it's going to start dropping my pin to where now I can start to make a shape. Okay. So as you can see, every time I click it, it's going to drop a pin. And then I'm just going to make this little funky looking shape. And there it is. I'm going to double click at the end of it. And now it closes it off. Now, again, same thing. If I feel like I'm missing a property, I could slide it one direction or not and go from there. Okay. So again, fairly easy. They want to make it a user-friendly tool. And then that's it. So all I do from here, remember the name, or anytime you see get count, if the data's not running, that's what you want to hit. So in this scenario, I want to hit get count, and it's going to tell me how many properties are within that search. So in this scenario, I'm going to zoom in just a tad. Hopefully you guys can see that. You'll see it says I hit 406 properties right there. Okay. Now, all of this up to this point, it's all free. When we get to a point to where it's going to cost pennies, I'll make sure to notate that for you guys. But you'll notice above here where it says all the information, this is where I can add filters. So you may say, nope, I know the area. I want to farm every one of those homes. Just give me the list. You can absolutely do that. Or you could say my clients, they want, so right here, you'll see I can start adding filters. I want something with bedrooms, maybe greater than or equal to 2 bedrooms. Okay. And then remember, when I change that, I got to hit get count. Then I got to update it again, and it's going to get me the count. Now, obviously, I did 2 bedrooms. Our assumption was most of them would hit it. Craig, you had something?
Or waterfront properties, can we identify, built after 1980?
Yes, sir.
Sweet.
So we can do, so right down here, you can see where it says year built.
Greater than.
And then you could do greater than 1980 and get count.
Knock me a lot of them there. One.
So one property. So we got one hit. But keep in mind too, but that's a great example, and I'm glad that you point that out. I mean, that is definitely, you can do that, especially if you know your client wants the newer property or whatnot. Now, let's keep in mind in this scenario, I got one hit. So obviously we may want to go back, but you can see all these little red X's here. And all I have to do is hit this little red X where it says 1980. And then I hit get count again, and it's going to pretty much reset it to 406 properties. Okay, so as many filters I want to add to it, I can, but if I ever want to take one off, just remember it's these little fields right at the bottom. So just like the 2 bedrooms right here, I could also delete that.
Hey,
So,
Chris,
but same things with the bathrooms. Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry. Will it show the ones that are already listed by an agent?
It won't show that in this database. So it won't cross-reference on that side. And that's the big thing is, so this is linked directly to the counties, the county records. It's not to the MLS or anything of that nature. So they've explored doing that. I think it's just like anything else, Craig. I'm sure you especially know this, like once you start adding in different, you know, connector pieces, APIs and everything else, it starts to really bog down the system. So I think Title Toolbox, they definitely wanted to keep it very simple, just give you the raw data, and then that way you have that to be able to utilize it on your side. But again, great question, Megan. So again, you could just see on these filters, I can filter, I can go to assessments and taxes, I can go others. I can also do custom fields. Maybe I want the odd house numbers. Maybe you know the odd house is on the golf course, the evens are not, or what that looks like. I can also do non-owner occupied or owner occupied. There's another place you could look for that as well. I'm not going to change those filters here because I want to show you it on another screen. But just so that you know, I'm also not going to show you the Premier data yet. That's going to come at another section here in just a minute. Okay. So let's say I see this and I see, oh, yes.
What would you call it? Non-owner occupied would be what we call absentee owners. They are a huge opportunity. Yeah. They're sitting on a ton of equity. They just get the hell scared out of them with hurricanes. And it might be a great time to get them, if they didn't flood, get them on the market. If they did flood, you can help them with resources. Great area to go find an area, say who are the absentee owners, and then we'll talk about how to get their contact info.
Love it. Yeah, and that's the, you'll see it, they do truly identify. So even if you don't want to turn that filter on, in the next screen, you're going to see it truly identifies it either as a blue or a green dot, and that identifies one or the other. And then, I don't want to get ahead of myself, when you pull the data, it's going to give you their mail-in address as well, the one of record. So if they live in mail-in addresses Michigan, you're going to have that to where you can mail that out. Okay. All right. So all I'm going to do here is I see 406 properties. Now I'm going to hit download view records. Okay. So it shouldn't take too long. It's gonna, my screen's going to update slightly. Okay. So this is where, now what I want you to just kind of look at real quick. You can see there's a lot of these dots. Okay. I could zoom in on these if I want. Now each one's numbered. Now also just keep in mind, some of these are not labeled with a dot yet. It's because there's multiple pages. So up here where my mouse is, if I hit page number 2, you'll see now my dots change. So that's where all the dots are. Okay, so just kind of keep that in mind when you first look at it. A lot of people question that, why don't I have the records of the others? It's just on the other pages. Now here's the point.
You have to select all on page 2 and 3 and 4. But if you select all, does it say select all?
You could select all, but when I export the data, it's going to bring up every single one of them.
Okay.
So when I export it into like a CSV or Excel, it's going to pull it all right there for you. So then you could kind of either then pop that into your CRM, Craig, or then go one by one off that list, depending on that. But it does pull all of them. And you'll notice here, see where it has green and blue? Those mean owner occupied or non-owner occupied. So the green is owner occupied, blue is not. And you'll notice that right here on number 4. And then if I just scroll through, you're going to see the date they bought. And again, all of this data is going to be available to you to where then you could pull it out nicely for you. And if there's a little bar at the very bottom here, if I scroll that over, it starts telling me some of the information on that property. So bedrooms, baths, non-owner occupied on the left side, or on the right side, I'm sorry. And then who the owner is, when they bought it, what the amount was, you name it. Now, it doesn't show all of the data here. So if I wanted to export this out, like let's say I want to mail all non-owner occupied or absentees. Up here at the top, you'll see where it says export. If I just click that, and all I do is hit farm, okay? Now I could remove all the duplicates or keep them. I'm going to just keep it all right now. And once I hit go, sure, let's grab that. Should open up on the screen. Okay. All right, so you're going to see, I know it's a lot of data here. I'll just go through it fairly quickly, but you'll see this, again, this is all free to you. So now you have all 400 records. So if I scroll all the way down, you'll see I got 406 records, okay? And of that record, I'm going to go back up. You're going to see it has every bit of information that you want. So it has the actual physical address. It has bedrooms, bathrooms. Let's see here. Owner occupied's right here. Yes or no. It's going to give me my owner's information. Now, if I keep scrolling over, this is where you're going to see where the mailing address is. So right here, obviously, we can identify fairly quickly. I mean, look at the states right here. So we got a couple in Ohio, Massachusetts, but those are a lot of the non-owner occupied. But again, just showing you, you do have their mailing address right here for you, so that then you can go after them immediately. So you don't have to look in a separate spot. Okay. So again, then you have access to this. Again, it's free. Grab it and go. So,
and just so I can comment, so you would take this Excel or CSV, and then you'd go to Moxie and you download the import tab. You'd have to reorganize this data. So you copy column Q or whatever column you wanted and type it into or copy it into the Moxie input form. And then you could simply upload it and you'll have this, create the name of this, your Fox Hills farm. And there you go. And now your database is in your Moxie. And when you send a newsletter or neighborhood news or whatever you do, they're going to get it. So there's a lot of agents. Nick, I see you online. Nick's amassed tens and tens of thousands of people in his database. Oh, Angelique just asked, is there email addresses in here or is it just mailing addresses?
This is just mailing addresses. There's a feature that I can show you that there is email or phone numbers. So we can jump to that next.
Okay.
Cool. But yeah, so you can see, you know, to your point, Craig, yeah, it's, all this data is here for you. If you know how to kind of use Excel, or I'm sure there's definitely quite a few at Century, you know, at Beggins to where they could help you with that. But yeah, you can sift through all of it. I know you don't need all the data, but it's all here. And again, it's all coming from the county site. So
does it show if they have a mortgage or not?
Oh, say that again. I
Does
didn't
it
hear
show if they have a mortgage or not? If it's county data.
Yeah.
Ooh,
it'll also show if they've taken out second. So if there's a first mortgage and they've taken out a HELOC, it'll show that, and it'll show the date that it was taken out. One of my favorite things about Title Toolbox is at the empty nesters. You're able to search, and I know Chris will go over the life events portion soon, but you're able to search a radius or a zip code based off of if they've owned the property for over 30 years, meaning they won't have a mortgage unless they've taken out a second one, and they probably don't even know the equity they have on that property. So really good listings there, you know, leads to be able to go after. But that's one of my favorite features with Title Toolbox is the empty nesters.
Yep. And, you know, if you look at the flood properties, if they were built before 1980 and they don't have a mortgage, there's a huge opportunity to help those people. If they're built before 1980 and they have a mortgage, they're kind of screwed. So don't spend a whole lot of time on them at this point, unless they have really good insurance. But I can talk more about that later.
Yeah. And you can see it again. I think the key here is you can go down all these little rabbit holes. So again, we went down this one. We got 406 properties. I can hit on every one of these. Now, this is where now I can kind of try to go a little bit further and see how much further I want to go. How far do I want to narrow down those 406 to the 50 that I really want to hit on? So that's where, so again, everything we've just done is free. You can do it. It's all yours. Access, export it out, and run with it. Now, where it comes to there's a potential cost is one of the things Megan just hit on was new possible leads. So the new possible leads, that's anytime there's a life-changing event, divorce, death, bankruptcy, maybe there's a lien that was filed on the property. And you'll see, so I'm on this screen and you'll see where it says new possible leads up at the top here. So if I click on that, this is where now it's going to tell me the following life events detected. So again, there's another screen I'll kind of show you specifically what that looks like. But if I scroll down here, you can see within the last 12 months, something has been filed with the county that's tied to a specific property. Now, we may also say, okay, 12 months is too far, you know, especially if they filed for divorce or they had bankruptcy a year ago, most likely they've already dealt with it. But that means they're still part of the property, and that's why it's popping up. But I can also change it from 12 months to 3 months. I'm not going to get as many hits probably, and I didn't. But let's go back to 6 months and see what I get. So here's something. So let's say there was a death at one of these properties. And now, obviously, this is a sensitive topic, but it doesn't mean that you can't market to that property to see, is there a potential chance they're going to sell now? And who are they going to reach out to? So that's where then, if I want to, I could hit, I want to buy this. I want to buy it to identify the property that one's tied to. Same thing with the Liz pendant, okay? But I'm going to go back to the 12 months just to kind of give us a little bit more to look at, just as an example of it. And again, you'll see all of this stuff right here. Again, you'll see there's a probate, a bankruptcy, and there's maybe the bankruptcy is what I want to go after. Because maybe if it's a big amount, maybe that is where. And obviously, refis aren't really happening yet. Who knows when that's going to happen? So at some point, they're going to have to do something. So all I would do is hit buy. Now, keep in mind too, they will, if you update get count. Well, it's not pulling it for me because of that. Hang on, let me go back here. See if I can get this one. Why is it not grabbing the data? All right, so I went to the divorce, okay? So this one specifically, now it will show me. So I had the one property that had a divorce filed, and that's where potentially I'm like, all right, I want to market them in a sensitive way, but I want to go after that one, okay? You'll see that to be able to get access to the records of that specific property, this one says it's 50 cents. Now, that number is all over the board. You're going to find some things that are 10 cents, some things are 5 cents, some things are 50 cents. And it all depends on how much you want your hands on that specific one. So let's say you do, and you think that could be a good opportunity, and especially let's say you live there, or this is a property that you always market. All I have to do now is hit pay now. Now, keep in mind too, if you upload a credit card, they're going to make you at least put $5 on it. And that way your credit card's not being charged every 5 cents you spend. So that's where, just keep that in the back of your mind. So I already have a credit balance because I always use it for training purposes, but I'm going to hit pay now just to use this as an example. And now I want to display the records. So now this is going to be my property that has a divorce filed on it. Okay. So if I scroll over, it's going to tell me when that divorce was filed. That was last December. Okay. And you can even see who the owner was. And it is the same person. So in this scenario, it looks like David is still living there, but Shelly was the one that got, was the ex-wife. But again, this is just an example to where, let's say if it was a bankruptcy, a lien, a probate, you can dive into specifically and figure out, okay, do I want to go after that property? Now, to go a little step further, if I want to get, somebody mentioned about emails and phone numbers. So I could even go a step further and say, okay, I'm going to email this guy, or I want to get David's email. Okay. So then I could say, okay, I want to kind of modify that to a point. I'm going to hit the filters here. Okay. And I'm going to now go down here, see where there's a little gear sign specifically for this property. This is where now some of these things are going to pop up. For this individual property, I could say I want to get my hands on that phone number and email address. Okay. So I could hit that. I'm going to pull it up here. Now, here's where this, I definitely want to go through this. If there's a phone number linked to this property, that means if they actually filed it and put it on the county site, it is there for 5 cents. Okay, so per phone number, however many phone numbers can pop up on that property, it'd be 5 cents. Same thing with an email address. It's 7 cents for an email address. Now they say roughly about 35% of the time they'll hit the email address, and about 60% of the time they get the phone number. Just so that you know, I've tried this before, even on personal properties I've looked at, and I've been able to hit it. So again, but just remember, with phone numbers, we all have cell phones. Most of us don't have landlines anymore. Remember, the number may change. They may not update it, so you may get somebody that doesn't live there. So just be cautious of that.
Hey,
I'm going to hit pay now.
On Veterans Day, I made a bunch of phone calls for that project I was telling you about. And I at least made 25 outgoing phone calls. How many people do you think answered my phone? I didn't know these people. They didn't have my phone number in their database. How many people answered the phone out of 25 dials? Just take a guess. Vicky Ray, ding, 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 ding. 2 people out of 25 answered the phone, right? So what did I do? I left a voicemail and said, hey, this is Craig. I got your number from Jack. He wanted me to tell you about a new project that's coming online. I'm going to send you a text with a link to my website so you can learn more about the property. If you have any questions, give me a call. And then I went to the phone number, to my phone. I went text. I added their contact into my phone. So when they text me back, I knew who they were. And then I hit copy, paste the link, and I was done. And then they started calling me back. So don't rely on phones because nobody answers their phones anymore. I am proud when I call you guys because you answer because you know it's me, right? Because my name pops up in your phone. But strangers just don't answer phones anymore. So don't rely heavily on the phone numbers. Get them if you can, but leave a message and then hopefully follow up with the text if it's a cell phone. Been a really good, effective way for me to do it.
Hey, Chris, before you continue, so on this one that you did that you purchased, does that mean since it was 12 cents, it was 1 phone number and 1 email address for that address?
Yes. And to add to that, I wanted both the email and phone. If it doesn't hit one for that property, it's not going to charge me. So if there's no email address of record, I'm not going to get charged 7 cents. It's just it's saying at the maximum, it's going to charge my credit card or my balance 12 cents.
Yeah, so take $2 on your credit card, put it on the account, and you probably won't use that up in a year. Unless you're Nick, and then you'll do it in a day.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is just put something to where you feel that might be beneficial. And so I loaded it on this one. Let's just see what I got. Now it's going to take a second, because usually it updates the screen. As of right now, no phone number was hit and no email address was hit. Now we only did one property, so our chances are lower, but if I would have done it for all 406, there's a chance I could have hit it on some. So just keep that in mind. I'm going to show you another sample of it real quick, but you do have that availability.
If they did have the phone number, would it populate on the spreadsheet that we already downloaded? We'd have to re-download it.
Yes.
Okay.
They'd have to re-download it, yes.
And I did also, I'm going to get with Jimmy and Lisa and see if maybe that's another training we can do where we're showing how you can pull these spreadsheets into Moxie. So that way you guys can see how it looks on both sides. I know Jimmy does those trainings for Moxie all the time. So maybe we can talk about doing a training like that. I did message Jimmy and Lisa, so we'll work on that as well.
Mike, it's IMAP, IMAPP. That's a free thing.
So you'll see. Oh yeah, well, and Craig, you just made me think of something too. Keep in mind too, if you do, let's say you are one of the agents that love to make the phone calls, or maybe you do want to get their email addresses. Maybe there's a niche you have with that. There's other third-party companies. So Title Toolbox, they literally are just linked up with a third-party company, you know, just like so many others. And it also doesn't verify if they're on the do not call list or not. So just keep that in the back of your mind. The do not call list is very hard to manage, and most third-party companies aren't going to back it, because today Craig could be not on the list, and tonight he could be, because he got fed up of all the spam callers. So that's why nobody's ever going to say, I'm going to give you a list that's been scrubbed, because you'd have to scrub it every hour. So keep that in mind, but you could grab this data, put in a third-party provider, and then grab additional data if you needed it. So just so that you had that.
Well,
I also want to show you, obviously,
skip trace, and we would hire a company to go skip trace it. There's like $100 to get them to go to try to find somebody, and there's no guarantee they're going to find them. But they give you 6 or 7 alternatives. It might be one of these email addresses, might be one of these phone numbers, and you had to go hunt for them. So this is pretty damn efficient to get it done, and you only pay if you want to. But you could just, I mean, for me, knock, knock, knock. That's easy.
And those addresses are free, just to be able to get their mailing address and see if they're actually living there. That's all free to everybody.
Yep. And if they're not living there,
and that's where some.
Okay, my neighbor next door lives in Kansas. Guess what I know about him? I know his phone number and his home address. Guess what my neighbor on the other side knows about him? He's got a key to his house and his garage door code. So the neighbors are really good resources to find absentee owners. I just want to put that out there. If you're nice and friendly, if you're a stalker moron person, don't forget it.
Yeah, the stalker's going to kill you right there off the bat. So.
Right. No, it does not tell you.
You'll see. Yeah. So you'll see on here, like, let's say I wanted to start a new farm, and just so that you guys are comfortable with this, once you get used to one search, or you do one thing, kind of like what I just did, it gets very repetitive. So that's where there's not a lot to this website, especially if you're going to farm. It gets fairly easy, especially if you do it a few times. But if I were to go back up to farming, I want to do a new one, I could just say clear search. It's going to bring me back out. I could zoom back out. Let's say I wanted to do the other side of the neighborhood. I hit farm, boundary, drop some pins. And I want to just show you one other feature on the what Megan was kind of talking about earlier. Get count. So this is where, again, I'm back where the filter screen is, okay? So this is where it's going to tell me the number of properties. So that's where, again, it's all repetitive once you kind of get into the routine of it. But that's where then, if I go through each one of these, if I want to know, you know, I could go one by one: property characteristics, assessments and taxes, you know, purchase date, when did they get it? You know, let's see here. We got the other section that provides, let's see, I don't think I want any of these. We got the custom filters. Here's where Megan was referencing the empty nesters. So that's where you could also turn that filter on. So that's where this one would say 30 plus years of ownership, and it's got 3 bedrooms. So if I want that on, and those are the only properties I want to see, that's where I could do it right there and then. Okay. Again, here's the out of state. I could definitely do that if I wanted to. Okay. Now, I don't want to hit on those, but I want to hit on the Premier data. So this is the exact same thing I just went off of when it came to not only the new possible leads or the phone numbers. Okay. So right here, if I'm on the phone numbers, it's going to tell me, here's the blurb right here that I kind of already told you. 5 cents per property, 7 cents per email. I could select one or the other. Maybe I do want an email. Maybe I feel like that's my avenue, depending on the audience. I could do that. As soon as I do that, it's going to tell me, if I click on purchase emails, it's going to tell me what the maximum cost is going to be. So 300 properties, that's going to add up. It would be $22 if that is what I wanted. Remember, it's only going to charge me if I hit the property. So if only half of them hit, I'll get charged $11. Okay.
I've got to run
the phone numbers.
Host. I've got to be in Ruskin in 15 minutes. So I'm going to run. But
okay, perfect.
Very informative.
Thank you, Craig.
Take care at the end.
I will. Thank you.
So you'll see that's on the phone numbers. Back if I go to the leads, this is where, so again, these are those new possible leads. If I go here and I type, right here where it says select, and I hit type of lead, this is where it's going to show me what potentially is in this area, okay? So there's cash buyers. The reason they put cash buyers is potential investors. So that's where maybe you're looking for other investors to go after. That's why they have cash buyers on there, because they're thinking, hey, if they bought it in cash, maybe they have cash to buy another property, and that's where that relationship starts. Obviously, also probate too. If I click on probate, remember I have to hit a date to know like when was that filed, and I could go back, 3 months to see if it were to hit that probate. Okay, so that's on the lead, and then the mortgage information. So this kind of goes back to what Megan was talking about, where I want to know what kind of information they have on their mortgage. When did they buy? What's their loan amount? Do they need to get out of it? If the rates don't come down for another year, are they going to be forced to sell? And you can see if you go through each one of these, okay, you can then identify it. First loan estimated interest rate, equal to or less than, okay? Do they have a second loan? What's that credit? So that's where you could get into that. We have a lot of lenders that utilize this program too, so they love this section, but just keep that in mind, that's also there. But these 3 sections at the top that I'm looking at right now, mortgage info, leads, and phone, those are the key items that would cost you anything. All of these other ones, general, all the way to custom fields, those are all free, okay? So just keep that in mind. That's where I just want to make sure that you guys understand this is free. Definitely myself, Megan, or Lisa can always support you on these and make sure that you're comfortable in that data, okay? And again, remember, right now I'm on this filter, I have to hit get count. So if you're on this screen and you're like, where do I get the data? Get count. That's where it's going to populate the data. I'm going to back out of here now. Get the data. I'm going to back out of this one because I added things to the field. Now it's not pulling it for me. Hang on. I'm going to reset this. Hang on one sec. So all I did was kind of back out of it. So hopefully everybody kind of saw that. But again, you could always clear out of the search. So if it's not doing it for you, you could always go back up to farm it and just clear it. Or right here, you could clear the fields. Now again, this is 325 or 323. Download view records. So just as an example, again, just showing you same exact thing. It takes me back to the screen. I can zoom out and go from there. Okay. I'm gonna jot down. Megan, you have something?
Yes.
You're
How
over there.
often is it updated? I want to say it was every 24 to 48 hours, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
They say every 24 hours, and they update it at midnight, is what they say. So that's
And
when
that's from the
they're
public
always going to do
record.
it.
So if there was a divorce
Mm-hmm.
filed today, you'd be able to see it in Title Toolbox Friday or Saturday.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And you'll see on this screen, so obviously remember, there's multiple pages. That's why the dots aren't lining up. Let's say I want to add in a filter because I don't want to deal with 323 properties. Over here, it says edit search. So before I download it, I could hit edit search and it's going to take me back to the filter screen. So same thing. Maybe I do want to make sure it's greater than or equal to 3 bedrooms. Once I do that, I hit get count. We're going to then identify from there. Now we're down to 150 properties. So I'm going to download and view those records. And now I'm down to 150 properties. Okay, so then maybe I'm trying to really get it closer to what my clients, specs are. Okay, and then remember from here, export, farm, that's going to give you the data in the Excel. Now there's other ways you can farm it or pull the data. The most popular is the farm. You can do mail-in labels, which is Avery 5160. That's the traditional one if you want to just do that. If not, you can go right into Excel. And remember, it's just hit farm and you're going to dive right into that section. Okay, let me show you one other thing, and then we'll definitely open it up. And so I'm going to just clear the search again. All right, so let's say I just logged in. I wrote down a property address just so I had in that area. So up here at the top, see where it says search for address. Let's say I'm meeting with a client. And I want to get a little research on it just before. Now, again, I know you guys have access to a lot of other databases that does this exact same thing, but I just wanted you to know this does give you the ability to search a specific property if you wanted it. Okay, so this one hit this property. I clicked on the number 1. This is where it could generate a report for me, or I could have the detailed view. So if I just hit the detailed view, this is where now it's going to show me, it's going to tell me about the property. Okay. So here's the general information about the property. It's going to show me the owner, bed, bath, all that fun stuff. It's going to also show me, I can click on the owners. It's going to go into depth on that. Okay. Location, tax information, property. It's going to give me anything of record. Okay. When did it sell? 2020. Is there any finance of record on here? Show me there is a loan. Is there any risk of a foreclosure? And then obviously if I want to go into any other risk that potentially is there, okay? But if I do that, it's just gonna just kind of take me to the next screen. Now, obviously from here, that is of this specific property. Now you may want to say, okay, cool, I just stumbled upon this. I showed a client this property, the neighborhood looked great. Maybe I want to look at the other neighbors in that area. Up here at the top, see where it says nearby neighbors? There's this little pull down arrow right next to it as well. If I click on that, that's where then I could do a couple of other things specific to this property. Okay, so the one thing I do want to show you is the nearby neighbor. If I click on that, it's going to say, give me, in this scenario, 10 properties near this location, and I want to do a farm-in of that. But I want to back it out. Maybe I want to say it's 30. And then if I hit search, now it's going to identify 30 properties right in that same area. And you're going to see, I zoom in on that. Our number 1 is right here in the middle, and then it grabbed 30 properties right in the area. And then what it did is it went to that exact same report that then I could download this. I could look to say who's owner occupied or not and go from there. So again, it's just one way, or it's another way to where if you went to one particular property for a listing, or you showed one of your buyers the property, you love the neighborhood, you want to look into a little bit further, you could do that. So all you needed was that one property address. You put it up at the top here, you hit search, you found it. Okay. Megan, what else do you kind of want me to hit on? I know we got about 10 minutes left. Is there anything or any, and I haven't been looking at the chat, so I apologize.
You're good. The chat's been taken care of. The only thing I would like to go over is if you could click on one of the properties and show the profile report and then the leads report. So just for everybody on the call knows, when you guys have listings, we do send out net sheets. Lisa and I will send those out to you. Along with your net sheets, you also get a lead report, a lead sheet that is coming from Title Toolbox. And Chris is going to pull it up, but it's going to show you the leads based off of your listing. So if you have a listing and there's 2 divorces around it with a probate, it's going to show you those. And then at that point, you can just click on it and be able to purchase that. So we'll show you with that.
I didn't mean to go too quick. So all I did is I searched the same property. So the same exact one. You'll see where it says generate report. So instead, where I originally went was the detailed view, owner, finance, all that fun stuff. So what Megan's referring to is the generate report. If I click on that, so then Megan, if you want to jump in, these are where those 4 reports are.
Yes. So the O&E quick check, that is it's a quick overview of the property and what is on it. It's supposed to be technically, I guess, like a preliminary title search, Chris, if that's correct. but it's not as detailed. So it's not going to show you on if we ordered it on what that looks like. That's why it's $5. You know, just keep that in mind. The profile with comps is a profile report, and it is a good 10, 14 pages. It shows you comps in the area. That is very detailed. I used to send those out, but if you guys still want me to send those, just let me know. And then the lead sheet is what we send out with your net sheets now. So we'll show you what that looks like.
Keep in mind too, it does take a little bit of time to generate the document. So as you can see, like I clicked on it, you can see it spinning. So it does take a little bit of time. Keep in mind too, if on any of the reports that it does generate, there's always a standard just stock image photo of a property. It's not the property that you're looking at. So keep that in mind. So just in case.
So once you click here, this is what we do, and we download this and send it to you. So it shows you that on that property, there's 69 list pendants within 2.5 mile radius. There's 64 liens, 19 bankruptcies, 10 notice of defaults, and so on. And when you get this from us, it's attached to an email. But since we download it, all you have to do is click on the right side where it shows buy now, and it will open up Title Toolbox for you to be able to purchase those 3, 4, 10 properties with that life event, to get contact information if you wanted to purchase that, or, you know, whatever you want to do with them. So these are sent to you with all your listings. If you have one and you don't have it, or you want a profile report, let me know or let Lisa know, and we can generate these very quickly for you, or give you access and show you, if you want one-on-one training, show you again how to do that.
And keep in mind too, with that, just always be cautious. Yeah, and it's an awesome tool, especially if you have a specific area that you farm all of the time. You know, so this is always another kind of like a great tool to go off of. Keep in mind, it does state right here that all of this data below here, I won't highlight it anymore. It's 180 days or before that. So it's going back a year and a half and pulling records. So just keep that in the back of your mind. Obviously, when you go to Title Toolbox, you can narrow in that search, because you may say, okay, I want to only know a lien that's been filed in the last 90 days. You could adjust that so it's not going back a year and a half. So keep that in mind. But yeah, it is great data, and it's only going out 2.5 miles from that property. So we'll say that all within here. So
yeah, very cool. But if you guys have any questions, we have about 8 minutes left. If not, I have everybody's names down if you wrote in the chat to be able to get signed up. And I see a few people have emailed me as well. So I will get you guys signed up and send you a follow-up email once that's completed. But if there are no further questions, then you guys have a wonderful day, and thank you for hopping on. We had about 80 people on. So that is amazing. Thank you for showing up. All right, let me add.
Love it, love it. And one quick side note is, when Megan signs you up, and let's say she sends you a quick email and says, hey, I just signed you up, look in your spam or your junk folder too, because through the database, sometimes it does end up in that folder. So just in case if she says it, you're like, hey, I don't see anything from Title Toolbox, or Benutech is the company that built it, which is right here at the bottom, Benutech, B-E-N-U Tech. Look in your junk or spam folder, because a lot of times we'll see it there. So just keep that in mind. We could always resend the data if we need to. So
yeah, and if you think you have an account but you're not sure, let me know, because if you do have one, it's just about sending a reset password email from the system. So it is super easy to get you reactivated with it. All right. There is a question. If you already purchased a report, how can I get an updated report so that I'm not paying for the same people?
So when you do the farming, okay, the big thing, and let me do a quick farm and just to show you. If the others need to dive off, by all means, I understand. But so on this one, so literally if I just do this, I'm gonna just do a quick report just so that you can see it. Okay. And get a count. I'm gonna kind of fly through this real quick. So mind me for 1 sec. And I'm gonna download it. Now, when I get to this side, Let's see. Okay. I want to make sure that I'm always saving this data. So once I save it, then I'm going to be able to go back to it. Okay. So up here at the top, see where it says save or share? That's where I want to make sure to save that. So that if I hit that, I could save it as maybe it is a specific, I'll put this as, just to identify our training here, and then it's going to save it for us. Okay. So as long as you're always saving the data, you'll be able to go back to get to the data. Okay. And if I close out of here, and then I could always go back here, and I could hit show me my saved searches. So that's where I then can identify that. So from there, so again, all I did was made sure to save it when I had that report. Then I went back to farming, and I hit save searches. And you can see right here at the top, C20, C21 Beggins or C21B. And then from here, I can then open it up. And it's going to take me back to the exact same thing. Now remember, it's going to take me to this screen. I'm going to get my count, forget how many properties it was. I'm going to hope it was 98. Download view, and it's going to go right back to that data. So if I did purchase anything, or this data is the one I always want to go back to, I could always do that. Just remember, if I make any changes here, resave it, okay? Or update, because then that way it's going to save that new information. So just always keep that in the back of your mind. If you're in here, especially if you're going to go back and forth and continue to use it, up here, okay? Always remember save share. A great question. I forgot to hit on that. And then remember, you can always identify it through here, save searches, and then go back in, okay? Any other questions?
Will the report only include the new people? No, it'll add them in, but it's still gonna show everybody that came up. So if there were 2 new people, it's gonna pull them in with it, but it's gonna show all 98 that were also pulled to begin with.
And remember, as you change it, that's where, especially if you do limit the search or you increase it, yeah, as long as you're saving it, but it will include the new or reduce the list.
All right, well, will I only be charged the difference? If you haven't saved it, they'll be charged the whole thing, right?
Correct. If you don't save it, and let's say you forgot to download it, you had to run out the door, and then it's gone. Then if you go in, you can look to see if it actually saved it, but they do, that's one of the things is they want to make sure everybody's saving it. You could check your saved farms to see if potentially it grabbed it. Now in this scenario, I want you to just see, it did save this purchase. So that one Premier, I think this was the divorce I think I grabbed. I can still get this. Now I never hit saved, never did anything. If I click on this, it potentially is going to pull it up. But what they've told us is they don't save them for a long time because of the amount of data.
30 days.
So if you go back 6 months from now, yeah. So if I go back 6 months from now, it's probably not going to be there. But if I go back in 2 weeks from now, it's going to be there. So, but as you can see, as this example, it was there for me and I never saved it. It was right there.
And that's in Title Toolbox. If you download it as that Excel spreadsheet and you save that, or you put it up into Moxie, totally different scenario, totally different time frame. But if you save it only in Title Toolbox, it's only in that time frame. So download the Excel spreadsheet. I am talking to Jimmy about, doing that training to get it into Moxie, so we can go more into how long it will save in both platforms at that point as well. All right. Well, if you guys have any other follow-up questions that you think of, send me an email, give me a call. And then those who did put in the chat or email me, I will get you signed up today and send you a follow-up email letting you know how to access Title Toolbox. But otherwise, I hope everybody has a wonderful day and let me know if you need anything. And thank you, Chris, for jumping on and showing us Title Toolbox.